What's up, gang? Welcome back to Budget Jams, where I'm inviting all of you to come along with me on my financial journey. I hope you'll forgive my delay in getting this video put together. My day job has ramped up work substantially, and I had my partner and a very good friend in from out of town to join me on a very bizarre cooking stream on my main Twitch channel, and I've also been experimenting with some different types of videos on this channel. Anyways, I've missed you all, and I have some great news for how February shook out. After months of bleeding, we have finally hit a net positive, and I feel like I'm really starting to get things back on track. We ended February with a positive remaining balance of $532.10, which, while that is not as high as I would like it to be, it's also a huge jump from how January shook out, where, if you'll remember, we ended with a negative $29.28 remaining. Ending February on a positive note opened up a ton of headspace, not just for me to think about my goals for March, but also just some bigger picture goals in general. First, you'll notice that my expense tracker has gotten a massive overhaul. Pulling inspiration from some comments that I had on past videos, I've added in a net worth tracker, and I've also put some major effort in to backdate a lot of my tracking so that I can have just a nicer, more holistic view of the trends that I've been on. I've also revamped a lot of my categorization, and I've added in some auto calculations that I want to speak to a little bit later in this video. One of my big goals for the end of March, or maybe the start of April, is to actually get this tracker reverse engineered back into a template formula so that I can actually provide it for any of you who are watching this video and want to use it for yourselves. I actually got this sheet overhauled at the perfect time as well, because I ended up having a meeting with my rep from Fidelity. If you remember, they're the group that manages my retirement, and he told me that because I did all of this work in advance of our meeting, I was able to jump ahead of the homework that he usually assigns to people that he meets over the first 2 to 3 meetings. And that meant we were able to just jump right into getting my retirement accounts back in order. Plus, I got to flex a spreadsheet to a fellow spreadsheet nerd, and that also felt pretty good. Anyways, this leads me to a perfect segue to talk about how we tackled last month's goals, and then we're going to jump into what March and just the general future has in store as well. In our last reflection video, I wanted to do some of the following. One, I wanted to dial back on spending after I got back from my birthday travel, and boom, I succeeded in that. We have over $500 left to spare. And I'm feeling very, very proud of how I was able to kind of tighten my belt up in that situation. Two, I wanted to get my taxes filed, and boom, that is also done. My state and federal refunds actually just hit my account a couple of days ago, and while it's not a ton of money, I did still get a refund, and every dollar helps, right? Three, I wanted to meet and talk with my Fidelity advisor so I could get my Roth IRA and other accounts back in order. All of that is in process following the initial meeting, and I got some extra kudos from him. Honestly, it was really validating. Because I went back and looked through everything, I just felt like I had a better grasp of what I was working with, and that allowed me to sort of conceptualize what some of my future goals are going to be as well. All in all, it was a super encouraging meeting. It cleared up a lot of confusion that I was having. I was very, very proud and happy to get that done. While there's still more work to do, I feel like I'm on a really good track with that. And four, I ended my personal training arrangement. And that was very sad, but this did also cut out a $400 a month monthly expense, and that feels good. Okay, so we blitzed through the February goals that we accomplished. What does March have in store? Well, this is where I'm going to get into some of the more bigger picture ideas. I recently learned about this 50-30-20 method for managing your money and saving for the future, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit more since it's sort of been occupying a lot of my headspace and how I've been framing how I want to tackle my savings goals going forward. The basic idea of the 50-30-20 rule is that 50% of your take-home income should be going to paying for your needs like rent, groceries, and all of those kind of necessary for life pieces. 30% should be going to your wants, like going out to eat or entertainment or anything along those lines. And then 20% of your income should be going to saving for retirement, building up an emergency fund, or contributing to fund a down payment on a house. Now, after very, very little reflection, I have realized that the 50-30-20 rule is generally flawed because, at least living in the United States, it is very difficult right now to have just 50% of your take-home income cover all of your necessary expenses. And personally, I also think that it's more pragmatic to save 30% for your future as opposed to putting 30% towards your wants, but that's more up in the air. However, even with the flaws in the 50-30-20 method, I do think it's an effective target to shoot for, and it's just an opportunity to reflect on things in a different way as to where your money is going. And honestly, it's just an easier way to help visualize how you can free up some of your funds. And as we can see, it can also be very jarring when you first start going through this process. So really quickly, I just want to take us through what my own 50-30-20 breakdown should look like versus how my budget is actually breaking things down. So if we follow the 50-30-20 rule to a T, that means 50% of our take-home income goes to our needs. Going to our needs from my $4,051.55 take-home pay, that leaves me with $2,025.75 attributed to my needs. If we take 30% for wants, which again, I kind of inherently disagree with, but we'll follow their rule for the sake of argument, that would leave me with $1,215.56 for my wants. Then you kind of just take the remaining amount of money left behind, leaves me $810.31 for savings. So let's see what my actual budget breaks down into this. Going through my entire list of needs, and these are all, of course, broken down in my expense tracker as well. We have my rent, car payment, utilities, phone, cat, all of my insurance premiums. I consider the debt to my mom as part of my needs. That's something that's very important to me. You need to be paying on that. You cannot fall behind on debts. That's factored in there. We have my grocery bills, gas for the car, and household maintenance expenses. That brings my needs total to $3,122. You can already see that we may be a little out of whack with what the actual rule is stating. Moving on over to my wants, this is a much smaller list because I don't want for as much as I need. We have my out to eat budget, content costs, entertainment budget, coffee because in case I want to treat myself, and then many travel expenses. That puts my wants total at $580. Then we take the remaining between my needs and my wants. That leaves us with any money left over for savings, which according to this breakdown right now says that I should have $349.55 left behind. For those of you who are good at math, you already know how this breakdown is going. Right now, 77% of my budgeted income is going towards my needs. That leaves me with 14% going to my wants and only 8% going to savings. If I could write a quick review for how this breakdown is right now, I would say it's not great. Now, fortunately, my wants are a lot more controllable. That's a lot more variable. I can choose to spend less money and then put more money towards savings. For my own sake, I want to take one of my longer term goals to try to get my expense breakdown to more closely match the 50-30-20 rule as best as I can. Like I said at the start of this segment, I think that the 50-30-20 rule is just a little inherently flawed, or it's not realistic with what expenses actually look like at this time in America, but it's still a good target. So to make my own modifications, I want to get as close to 50-30-20, but with 30% of my money going towards my savings. This is going to take more finagling. This is going to take more conscientious effort and tracking, but I think that I can definitely push to that as a larger goal. But beyond just general savings and everything like that, I do have some exciting news that I can announce, at least for myself in my own personal life as well. My partner, who I've been in a long distance relationship with, is going to actually be moving in with me at the end of this month. And while her presence isn't going to immediately cut down on what my expenses are, she is going to be contributing to rent, groceries, and all of that stuff. But money notwithstanding, we're also both just going to be much happier and, not driving 6 hours to see each other whenever we have the opportunity is going to reduce a lot of mental load and stress and honest to goodness, just gas expense, and having that headspace and having my person with me in the same space as me is just going to open up so much opportunity for both of us, honestly, to be just more successful with what we're doing with our finances. And I'm really, really looking forward to that opportunity. I know I'm technically a finance channel or a budgeting channel, but your mental health and your happiness have huge outcomes in your financial decision making. And I just know that cohabitating with her is going to be hugely beneficial for both of us. So I am very excited for the end of March, going down, loading up a moving truck and getting her up here. I'm beyond thrilled. So to just bring us back on track, while the goals for this month are quite a bit looser than they have been in the past, I kind of want March to just be the start of a savings streak for me. I feel like I'm well positioned right now to keep a lot of my other expenses lower going into the end of this month. That should leave me with even more money left behind that I can move around to savings and everything along those lines. Before we wrap things up, I just want to do some housekeeping for this channel. Once again, I've been so blown away by the response I'm getting to what we're doing here. And even with juggling the other responsibilities that I have been feeling a lot more confident with my quote unquote soft skills. And even though I'm still one man with a day job that I'm trying to keep a roof over my head, I am planning on uploading on this channel as regularly as I can, while still also juggling my ambitions with my other channels to be putting out more just general entertainment content as well. I'm a multifaceted person. I have a lot of interests, but please know I appreciate you all for being here and just choosing to spend a little bit of your time with me. Videos will continue to come on this channel as I have the time, energy, and worthwhile things to talk about. You can always expect these monthly updates as we're going, and then anything else I'll just kind of drop in as I have the idea and as I finish it. But all of that being said, I appreciate you all watching this far. If you don't want to fall behind on my financial journey, give a slap to that subscribe button. Weird. What was that? Give a slap. Give a slap. Give a slap to that subscribe button. And as always, please remember to be good, be careful, be good and careful. Happy savings. See you later.